get sat down, get the tea ready, because everything, I mean everything, is kicked off. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and today I am bringing you another high quality investigation. Today we're going to be looking into some recent events that happened on Twitter between James Charles and Marlena from Makeup Geek. This was a massive deal. This kicked off really big. I'm going to be giving you all the receipts of the entire fight that's happened, and then I'm going to be giving you my personal conclusions on the situation. So why don't we get straight into the video? When I do give my advice and my opinion at the very end, as always, that's my opinion!
That's my opinion!
Marlena is the CEO, brand owner, founder of a brand called Makeup Geek, most famous for doing their single eyeshadows. They were really a dupe for MAC Cosmetics because MAC at the time were like $20 and Marlena was like $5 to $6 to $8 for their singles. These took off, did really well. They've been a bit quiet. They're now sold at Target, which is amazing. Marlena recently did this video which was posted on YouTube called like The Truth About the Beauty Community. Got loads of views, came at the exact right time, just as the fight was happening with Manny, with Laura, with Jeffrey, all those people. Was really received very, very well and really took off. And since that, she's really reignited herself because she has been a bit not that spoken about for quite a long time now. So she really picked the right moment to throw herself back into the media. And at the same time that this was happening, she was apparently approached by Netflix to do some sort of series. That's where the tweets begin. So why don't we start off by sharing what Marlena's posted. It is worth mentioning at the start, Marlena is a well-seasoned veteran of both the beauty community and the brand world now. She was an influencer to quite a big level at the time for YouTube. People didn't tend to have like 10 million subscribers back then, but she was quite big for what she was. And then she transferred over to being a brand, and now obviously she's been doing really well for a long time with that as well. So she is well seasoned and she's very intelligent. She's not sort of a newbie on the block, even if you might not have heard of her. She tweeted, "Huge props to Netflix for showing behind the scenes of the beauty industry. Who wants to watch when it comes out? Let Netflix know how big this community is." Obviously, congratulations to Marlena for scoring a Netflix gig. For anyone on YouTube to make it into like the mainstream world with a Netflix show or anything like that is amazing. Huge props. So James Charles was not happy about this and he tweeted back saying, "Wait, what?" And then he sent his own tweet saying, "Hey Netflix, let's make a documentary on the behind the scenes of the beauty industry and why the community is plummeting." As if James isn't part of the reason the community is plummeting. "I already have a full outline of it done that highlights faults on all sides in a non-biased way and a platform of millions that want to know more. Email me." If he's that desperate to share his message, why isn't he posting us on YouTube channel? Why is he holding this information hostage? Give me a show or else the audience don't get the real tea. Do you know what I mean? It kind of just seems a little bit like James is swooping in for the kill. Like Marlena obviously isn't that big on social media anymore. She does have a brand that she focuses on. She's not some big time influencer. And it seems like James swooping in like this. You can see Marlena's tweet got 1,000 likes, but James' tweet got 35,000 likes. So obviously it is going to have an impact. And it did kind of seem a bit like it was swooping in, but I think James feels like because he's been working on his own behind the scenes thing, he feels like his idea has been stolen here. So Marlena tweeted, "Filming today for a special documentary that airs in 2019 with Netflix." James quote tweeted and said, "This woman knows nothing about the industry other than blaming her bad business decisions and personal issues on influencers." I do have to just pause there before we continue. Marlena is a self-made brand that started on YouTube, built herself from absolutely nothing, that transferred from being a beauty guru on YouTube to selling in bricks and mortar stores. In reality, she paved the way for people in this community to launch their brands, such as James I'm sure will try and do in the future. So to say that this woman knows nothing about the industry when she's the one that's paved the path for what he and many of his friends are now doing, I don't just think this shows James's naivety, I think it also shows his ego. I think it's incredibly inflated, and I think to be so disrespectful for someone that's not only a veteran but has paved the path for so many of us, like me for example, to go on to do what they're doing, I do think it's just stupid, to be honest with you. I think it's very disrespectful, I think it's very mean-spirited, and I think it's bullying behaviour. Continuing the sentence, "This is absurd and I'd love to get in a room together and show you the non-biased outline I've already made on this subject that documents all sides." James Charles, I don't feel is in any position to give both sides of any argument, because from the very beginning he's always been on the side of whoever's going to make him the most money. Back when he was a tiny influencer, he's openly admitted when he would tag brands on his Instagram photos to share with his audience the products that he'd used in the looks that he'd created. Obviously them looking up to him are going to go and buy the products. He would tag brands that he wasn't using to try and get onto their PR list. So he would use a drugstore brand and then tag like Tarte Cosmetics, Benefit Cosmetics to try and get in their PR list. People would say like, "Oh, that's so business savvy, that's so business savvy," but I feel like we're kind of missing the point of how he's literally lying to his audience about the products that he's using. If that was now on YouTube, people would kick off about it. If you're willing to completely lie to your audience and mislead them into buying a product that's nothing to do with what you actually used back then, and now you're celebrating that, I don't think you're in any position to give an unbiased perspective on anything, 'cause it's very clear where your bias leans towards. James then tweeted, "Everything that I put my heart and love and a ton of work into is always stolen by someone else. I feel so defeated right now, it's insane." I'm sorry, like I've been so supportive of James recently, especially over the past few videos, but this is kind of just, he's coming across quite bad, do you know what I mean? Like, admittedly, Marlena kind of looks a bit opportunistic with how she swooped into the whole situation, like she wasn't really talking about any of this stuff. Then she posted the video, she posted the tweet, she's kind of been on the sideline, she threw herself in, and I get that, she's obviously using it to get somewhere, she's obviously getting exposure from the situation, there's really no question about that, like everyone can see it. But at the same time, the way that James is dealing with this, because someone else is doing better than him, I just don't think it's very nice at all. I think he's really showing his ass. So Renee tweeted in response saying, so disrespectful and arrogant. Marlena created her brand from the ground up, hard work. She did not earn it from selling out to Morphe with discount codes. Which is true when you think about how much James is making from Morphe, 100,000 plus a month, I think. Probably way north of that, especially around Christmas. You can't be in any position when YouTube was completely different back when Marlena was doing it. You could still make money, but it was no way near what it is today. The entire investment that Marlena probably had to make into her brand, she probably had to save for 6 months to a year to make. These beauty gurus now, at the same level of fame, respective of what Marlena was, can make 100,000, 200,000 just from one affiliate commission. And if you imagine you have multiple plus sponsorships, we're talking a lot of money. So in that respect, Marlena really had to grind to really break the niche and to break into selling physical products from just being a beauty guru, which back then wasn't really seen as being anything prestigious because there wasn't that much money involved. Brands weren't working as much with influencers as they do today. James has been dropped from some pretty big things, and I think this kind of behavior shows you why. This behavior is what sparks people to just see through the positivity and see what the true core is. You've been a beauty guru influencer for a few years and now you think you know it all. What a joke. James quote tweeted this and responded directly saying, I went from being a consumer who couldn't afford 3 foundation shades for my kit. Like if you cried, James Charles had no money. That's what we're going to bring this argument to. I couldn't afford 3 foundations. Oh my god. When you were like, what, 15? I couldn't afford 3 foundations when I was 15. To being a large influencer, to being at the top and working / consulting directly with brand CEOs on campaigns and marketing. I've seen all sides, don't try it, Renee. Do you see what I'm saying here? Like James threw so quickly to his growth to fame through the tactics like we've spoken about. And he was openly dragged by Thomas Halbert with the whole thing about the highlighter being fake and being lied about. That was another thing that was done for PR that got him the whole gig with CoverGirl. Alongside that, I think he lied on Ellen about his highlighter. Like if someone's willing to lie to Ellen.
Does there be any chance of me being able to retake them? And they actually said yes. So I drove there right away and I redid my makeup and I brought my ring light with me, which is like the light that I use for makeup photography. And we retook them and they turned out really, really good.
Yeah.
So I posted them on Instagram and they went viral literally overnight.
You lying? Why you always lying?
I'm sorry, you're in the same category as Mark Zuckerberg to me. I'm sorry for all these crazy tweets. I've avoided getting involved in the industry drama for a very, very long time now. Really? But this is a subject I'm clearly passionate about and I feel slighted. I'm going to weigh out my options and see what can be done. So James then tweeted, looking to work with a documentary focused production team to do my own video on all this. I want to make this unbiased with representation from all sides. Please email me if interested. Serious inquiries only. Let's get this done. Marlena responded to one of the original tweets with Netflix and said, James, you're not even 21 years old. You've never produced makeup. You've never started a brand from the ground up. I'm sorry this feels like it was stolen, but I did not seek out this opportunity. When you've been in this industry for 10 plus years, then tell us about your experience, which is true. James is 20 years old, okay? I don't mean to sound shady, and I'm always the first person that sits here and says age is not a representation of ability, but age does have a tie to experience and how much experience you can have of something. He could have really intense experience of the beauty community, but compared to Marlena that's literally been in for 10 years and has started a brand from scratch from not a lot of money and has then gone on to achieve great things on YouTube and with the brand, it does kind of just seem like there isn't a comparison. I'm sorry, you have to just like wrap your head around the time scale of things and how quickly everyone's grown and how quickly this has happened. I think I understand what James is trying to say, the underlying message, but I think the way he's gone about it is so wrong, and I think it just shows how arrogant he's become. I'm really not a fan of this whatsoever, and my last video is very supportive of James. He quote tweeted Marlena and said, you're right, I'm not even 21 yet. Bear in mind that he has a lot of followers, so when he quote tweets Marlena Marlena and he's saying stuff about her, like from the original tweets, she's going to be getting a lot of abuse about this, like a lot of abuse. She's going to be taking heat for this, when really all that she's done is accepted an opportunity from Netflix. That's all that she's done, and now she's getting dragged for it. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't seem fair to me. Seeing so many comments here, so we'll address quickly. Netflix had this conversation many weeks ago and approached me about the industry from a brand owner's point of view. There's many parts of the documentary, including product development, changes in the industry over 10 years, etc. That was Marlena's concluding tweet. My thing about this, okay, and I'm honestly so triggered, like a billion times triggered, and if you enjoy my videos, please leave me a thumbs up as always, otherwise I'll be mega triggered. I feel like we're forgetting. Everyone's talking about exposing the beauty industry, and I'm sat here like, oh, what have I been doing for the past 2 years on this channel?
My dick fell off!
Bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
That's my opinion!
Like, if you go to my channel, there's an entire playlist called The Favourite Scandal that was specifically debunking people doing favourites videos where they were promoting products that were sponsored without even saying that they were sponsored, saying, oh, this is my favourite product for this month, this is my second favourite, and how each product was, you charge a different price for each product mentioned, and it still happens today. If I wasn't posting my videos for the past 2 years, I 100% without a question in my mind think James Charles will be doing the exact same antics as everyone else in the industry with undeclared sponsorships, over promotion of affiliate codes, and all the same sort of dodgy behavior. I completely think that would be the reality. So this whole perspective of James suddenly being the truth teller and suddenly being the leader in the industry, I don't think he's escaped his scandals. The main thing is anyone can make a mistake and anyone can handle a mistake, but I think it's more when you continuously make the same mistake, whether it's racial appropriation, whether it's attacking people, whether it's just being rude and disrespectful towards people, it gets to a point where you continuously do it so often that people are going to start to associate that behavior with you regardless of the apology. And I do think this is one of those situations where James almost feels like he owns the industry. And not to forget this, like, remember when Jeffree had a massive fight with James? You don't know what happened, but I think suddenly they unfollowed each other. Suddenly, like, Jeffree posted some shady tweets about him and James went running back the first opportunity he could get. Like, the first opportunity that James got to jump back in, he was there. And it was like he got bad PR the first time, but he got good PR the second time. Like, if you go and watch the Shane video, you can see James there just like lurking around. I get that if that's your grind, like, social climbing is obviously something that James is very good at. He's done it throughout his entire career. I believe he social climbed off Thomas Halbert to begin with. That's what Thomas has said from the beginning, and then when he got too big for Thomas, he kind of just like pushed him to the side and moved on to the next person. He's obviously very good at it. It's obviously a fantastic way to grow and it's very successful, but at the same time, like, I just think sometimes I'm happy. I'd rather just have a happy audience. I don't really care about subscriber counts and stuff like that. This kind of stuff, it's just, I don't know how self-inflated your ego would have to be to think that you own tea, to think that you own exposing the beauty community. Even me, that broke the entire niche on YouTube of doing investigations into the beauty community, I don't own the word tea. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's so stupid, and I just don't really know where this is going. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm in like a bit of a bad mood today, if I'm just ranting. The weather's had me super down for like the past 2 weeks. That's why I'm not really posting. I don't know why this just triggered me so much. I don't know why. What do you think about the situation? Because I was standing James for a bit. Now I just feel very confused and very triggered about the situation. I don't think he has good spirit. I think he'll do whatever he can to get to whatever he wants to get to at the expense of anyone in his path, whether that's his subscribers, whether that's influencers, whether that's brands, whether that's anybody. I really don't think he has anyone in his mind apart from himself, and the only time that I ever hear about James is when he's involving himself in something and dragging someone. And what's annoying to me is we did the whole Alexa scandal and I was super because James came through and said, you need to credit the person that started the trend, like, it wasn't me, I appreciate it. And sometimes he seems so genuine and he seems so sweet, and that's one of the times where I thought, okay, maybe he's changing, maybe he's growing. And then you have things like this where it seems like he's just opportunistically trying to jump on someone else's opportunity and trying to steal someone else's gig via his following, going and harassing Netflix because he's obviously tweeting them. But you know what I mean? It's like, good for you, you got the game, you got the views, you might get the show, but at the expense of what? Dragging someone else, getting an opportunity. What's she ever done to you? Nothing. I just thought it was very sad. I genuinely just thought it was very sad. And my conclusion, I honestly don't think James is the person to give an unbiased representation on the situation for anything. I think James's entire history on YouTube, I'm really sorry to say this because there's lots of times that I have supported James, but most of it has been built on lies and scandals, whether it was the Photoshop lie to do with the highlight or many of the other things that we've covered on my channel, whether it was the Ebola scandal, whether it was everything else. That's the nature of growth. My growth, to give you an example, like the growth growth of Nikki Tutorials came from her collaborations. That's where she got most of her major growth from on YouTube, when she's collaborated with brands or collaborated with influencers. Me, for example, my main growth comes from big scandals. If I do the Pink Sparkle scandal, if I do the Jeffree scandal that just happened, all that stuff, that tends to be where people come and find me from. Like, that's where I get it from. And I feel like James gets his exposure from dragging people like this, like stealing someone else's opportunity. And I just think it's not fair. I feel like he's going out of his lane and putting his hand into the car next to him's steering wheel and like trying to like spin the steering wheel so he crash off into a wall because he's scared of the competition. That's me trying to give you an analogy in my head of the situation, how I see it. I think it's one thing to talk about someone indirectly or directly, but not like dragging them. And it's another thing to physically jump your neck into someone else's opportunity, speak to the person giving them opportunity, speak to the person, drag both of them, put pressure on both of them. The thing that got me a little bit was James was talking about like how bad the community's become and how it's plummeting. But I honestly just feel like James is a big part of that completely. And I think the drama community is the same. I think drama community plays a big part in it, but I think James is just a part of that as anyone else is. I don't really have a question about that. And I think he's doing his series, they get him good PR where he's like, oh, you know, this person does this and this person does that and I'm so PG, I'm doing this. But at the same time, this kind of behaviour, you can't say, well, I did something nice, so forget all the nasty stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes. I just don't think it's fair. I think he's causing problems. And I think if someone is out there trying to do good, like Marlena, whether or not she's getting exposure, which she is, obviously is an intention, but she's obviously trying to do some good in the same process. And I think to try and attack someone that's doing good because you wanted that positive PR, I think is very evil and it's very negative. And I think he honestly needs to have a seat, because this is just going too far where he suddenly thinks he owns exposing the beauty communities if it's not been done for the past 2 years here or the past year on other channels, etc. Very interested to hear what you think about the situation. Obviously you can tell I've been very triggered by the whole thing, very triggered. I want to say massive thank you for watching. If this video can get 5,000 likes, Pepper will make another appearance. Thank you for watching and I will see you very soon. Bye.